Liverpool v. everybody the day after. We know what it is. Brentford came to Anfield in a pretty good way. The last maybe 4 to 5 results were pretty good for Brentford. And, they've been a team the last couple of seasons where you'd see a couple players on their team uh, that they had some ballers. They had some ballers with it being Buemo. Obviously, we know the brother who's still serving a suspension. A few teams after him, Tony. They got a couple midfielders, so they've had some dudes on their squad over the past couple of seasons. That whether they were playing us or not, if you saw them playing whoever, you may tune in to see a couple of those players. Manager's pretty good. And for Liverpool, coming off of two results that we'd love to not have, one in Europe and then one in the Europa League, and then obviously the Luton Town match. Two pretty poor results at the end of the day. And yesterday was a good way to bounce back from that, particularly in a situation where injuries are becoming an issue again. Whoever that was already out up until this point anyway, Thiago, with some additions to guys all across the pitch, really, from the back to the front. And so maybe not too many forward dudes, but we definitely are missing some midfielders and defenders. So to see the guys really, really rise to the occasion and perform like they did in the game, it's pretty amazing. You know what I mean? Obviously, Salah, need to talk about him. I mean, I think that's 200 goals now. The guy, is it even possible that Salah is getting just better? He's obviously becoming more seasoned as a professional the longer he applies his trade and the more consistency he gets as he's playing. But it almost feels like he's getting better, just making better decisions. Obviously, we always knew that he can offer assists. But I don't know, man, his movement and his involvement, just being in certain places. I don't know. Maybe he's not getting better. Maybe he just is just that dude in terms of scoring goals and just finds ways to get that done. And that for his header, a lot of people would have, based upon their opponent, I think that was Ben Mee who kind of, as the goal was going in, he's putting his hand up to the ref saying, obviously they're going to call that back. I think they were trying to say Simicast, the ball had crossed the line. It obviously didn't. But again, it's another example. Glad it wasn't us this time, to where you play to the whistle. You know what I mean? Like, it's so cringy for me to see professional footballers or athletes in general sort of, anytime they think it's offsides. I mean, we've been at fault for doing this. Everyone does it. Putting the hand up and looking at the ref. You got to play until you're asked to stop play, which is usually by a whistle. So, but I bring all that to say, there are certain players that would have saw their opponent reacting a certain way and just said, okay, maybe this is going to get called back. But a professional like Salah plays to the whistle, and he got 2 goals today or yesterday. So, no, I just big up Salah, man. He's been doing amazing stuff for Liverpool. We all know that. And the fact that he continues to shine the way he is shining is pretty crazy. Look, happy to see Endo. We've all been talking about it. I know Endo didn't have a great game against Toulouse midweek. I don't think he had a great game against Brentford. But I was looking at some comments in the comment section on another channel, and, I never looked at it in the way that certain people were sort of presenting it, Even though Endo wasn't incredible, and, he just, at this moment, you don't see him as a 6 for Liverpool in any real near future as the dude. That's why there's all this talk about who we're going to get, and that's why we're having other players play that position who really isn't really familiar with that position on a consistent basis. But he had this way of stopping the game in moments when we needed to, taking certain fouls, and that we haven't had a guy like that for a while, I guess Fab did it here and there, but we always talked about teams like City who had, I forget the DM's name now, but he was famous for, those professional fouls and just sort of interrupting the game when you needed to have it interrupted for whatever reason. And I hadn't thought about that. And I had planned on coming on here saying I'm happy to see Endo play, particularly as long as he did play in the game. But just giving the ball away a lot. It just looks like the Premier League speed is just a bit too much for him. But that's just me. But look, if he can do those things, and I don't think anything he did. Well, I know nothing he did cost us too big. You can see that by the scoreline. But he's one of those dudes that beyond watching the game in its entirety, I kind of focused on because I've been wanting him to play for a while and want to see him play a little bit more than he has played when he started, which is only a few times now. But yeah, if he's a guy that can do that while still just getting acclimated to the speed and just building his confidence, I think that could be, a good situation for us. Now, look, it is Brentford, and we put things all into it's Brentford. So when we think about it, it's like, okay, this was his performance against Brentford. You just wonder against a better opponent, where will Endo sort of, how will his performance really look? You know what I mean? And maybe these are the games where we see him start against Brentford. Maybe things like Burnley, things of that nature to get him sort of acclimated. And again, there's no knock on Endo. I just feel like, look, you don't want to see Endo rocking up, Thanksgiving when we played City. I don't. So, but again, you never know. You never know. I mean, City again dropped some points, and so that puts us in a really, really good place. And this game against City after the international break, I believe, is big. It was big before the season even started. You look at the calendar and you see we play them, but now how things have lined up, it's a big one, and it's one that we definitely need to take advantage of. But back to this game, I think it's clear to see Van Dijk is in my opinion, just if he's not back to where he was, he's pretty damn close. I mean, really, really, really commanding performance. And again, it's in those moments where he sort of makes his own pace, and it doesn't really seem like he's working too hard to get things done, but he is, and he's getting it done. So I think Mbeumo is a dude that you have to talk about as a guy. You're surely not looking at him as one of the better forward players in the world, but in the Premier League, he is a dude that on his day can cause some trouble. And there wasn't much from Mbeumo in that game, to be honest. There wasn't much from them in general from what I can remember. Sure, they might have a moment here or there, but it never really seemed like Brentford was going to do much in that game. It really was about Liverpool and how clicked on that we were, and probably how disappointed it was that we had the results that we'd had recently. But I think to a man, everybody did pretty well. And like I said, Endo, even if he was sort of the weaker link amongst maybe one or two of the other guys who weren't great, he still played a role. He still did something in that game that helped us, and nothing he did hurt us. So at the end of the day, I can nitpick and point out certain things, but at the end of the day, we got the victory, and by and large, dudes were pretty much on point in that game. Diogo Jota, I mean, look, you talk about guys in the world, and I don't know, but for me, you look at a guy like Diogo Jota, he is not a dude that is going to kill you with pace, he's going to kill you with trickery and skill, but he's efficient. Real old school kind of player, in my opinion. He's efficient. I enjoyed watching his body language throughout that game because there were some moments there where he was really frustrated if he didn't get a pass, whether it be from, I don't know, Gakpo, Nunez, whatever. There's just moments where we took a few shots in that game from distance that probably just wasn't necessary. You know what I mean? You just take your time, patient, and work through it. And you can see some of that was frustrating Jota. But also, there are times where I feel like, is there anyone else who celebrates our goals with the amount of emotion and almost drama and energy that Jota does? And I'd be hard-pressed to find that person, to be honest. So I'm so happy that we have him. I'm so happy that he loves playing with Liverpool. And to be honest, I like a player who is frustrated for not getting the rock. We all know that well, I believe Jota is probably our best finisher in the forward ranks. Or maybe him and Salah are kind of neck and neck, but he's up there. So it is frustrating to get to that final third, to do everything to get in the right position, at least in his mind, and not even get a look. So to see him sort of take the ball and say, "Look, I'm getting a goal this game," and take it and just an amazing goal, I think, from Jota. Nunez was amazing today. I think one could hear me say that and say, "Huh? What do you mean he didn't score, or he didn't score as he had so many chances to score." A couple of them were offsides. But I just love this guy's energy and his passion to keep pushing, even if things aren't going his way. Offsides, he missed a chance, whatever. And I think that's what Klopp sees. And depending on what channels you watch and who you talk to, you can see that this dude, the more he plays, the better he's getting. Not necessarily at getting the goals, because that's whatever. He's going to miss some chances. We know that about him. And until we get to a point where he is consistently taking those chances, then we have to realize that could be a thing. But with that being said, he's still at it. He's still trying. He's still working. Still putting himself in good positions. Still battling physically for us at the top of the pitch there. So yeah, just really proud of the dudes, man. Particularly again, if you look at our bench, I mean, a lot of young guys there. A lot of young dudes were promised, by the way. But a lot of young dudes there. You obviously had Diaz, and shout out to Diaz and his family. That seems like that's something. The issue that was going on with that has been solved, at least for now, in terms of him being back with the family. I'm sure it's not solved in terms of emotion and everything around that, but the fact that he's back with his family that's a big step towards getting back to some sort of normalcy with this family and things of that nature. But yeah, just overall couldn't be happier. In a game where you're not getting, there's 2 games in a row, in my opinion, from what I've seen. Or maybe 3 if you count the Toulouse game where Szoboszlai is present, but you're just not seeing a whole lot from him, especially not what you were seeing the first phase of games that we had in this season. But again, when you don't have certain dudes clicking or playing at the level that we know that they can, it's always great to have everyone else doing their roles, and that's what the team is about. So, I've said it before. Maybe people thought it was crazy, but I think this Liverpool squad right now, with maybe 1 or 2 more additions, are as good as the teams that Klopp had. With Genie and Mane and of course Henderson and Fab and Milner and all these dudes. I mean, this team really adds up to that. Firmino and all of that, Origi. This team is on par with that, I believe. Particularly in the midfield. I think the midfield is already and we haven't even played a full season with our new guys, is already at that level, if not better. When you really look at what they can offer, what they can do, and a different midfield altogether from those teams, but just a more functioning one. When's the last time can you remember we had midfielders who can maraud from the midfield and make things happen? And it helps us when we're talking about playing against teams with a low block, trying to get us on the counter. Guys who can be patient and just find situations, whether it be a situation for themselves, make their own goal, or for their teammate. We just haven't had that at Liverpool in so long from the midfield. So to have that and dudes really, really getting into sync and sort of expediting that and speedily getting to the point where we are really in sync. And there's so much more. That's the thing. Like, the levels that these guys can go is so much higher than what we're seeing right now. So it's disappointing to see a lot of the injuries, but again, we have to fight through that. We know every season there's going to be something like that. Unfortunately, with Liverpool, that's just what it has been. Hopefully it's not anything as devastating as last season. But whatever the case, seeing Liverpool stick together and going through the things that we've gone through this season already, as an early season, is really promising, and it gives me a lot of hope and optimism for this team moving forward. So just really proud of the guys. Get a win, bounce back, get back in the winning ways after 2 results we didn't like. Enjoy this international break, and then there's a big one when we come back. Shout out to Chelsea. Thanks for helping us out with that crazy game. Helping us out with that. Yeah, real wild game. But yeah, just excited about this season, man. With every game I see things, certain players, certain things Just the camaraderie with certain players. You can tell the connection between certain dudes off the pitch. But yeah, to get a clean sheet, of course, and to see our keeper still, standing up, making certain decisions. Look, he still has a way of making folks nervous when he kind of toes on the ball a little bit too much. But yeah, there's not really much I can say more than that after a game like that. A really, really good result. And again, puts us in a really good place in the table. So it's in our hands at this point. Cannot wait for that game against City in a couple of weeks. But yeah, overall, just really proud, man. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section, and I will see you guys in a couple of weeks.